Today's presentation is going to go over a few different discussion points, all of which apply theories from throughout the year to a fictional organization called Fashion House. Our points of discussion will be organization, stakeholders, message development, evaluation, and crisis management. The organization I have created is called Fashion House. This is a nonprofit located in Gainesville, Florida, and it's dedicated to giving children workshops and classes to gain knowledge and skills within the fashion industry. There will be about 5 to 10 volunteers catering to 40 to 45 students and children. It's a pretty fledgling organization. However, it offers a lot of accessibility to students who wouldn't necessarily gain exposure to fashion photography and editorial writing outside of this organization. So the main mission is to provide access to the fashion industry for all, and the values are creativity, design, and accessibility. In Alachua County, there is a poverty rate of 23.3%, and the average national cost of attending a fashion school in the United States is $30,000 a year. So with that, it's clear that there are going to be some disparities between who can get exposure to fashion and who cannot. With this in mind, there's a similar phenomenon that we see in mass communication called the digital divide, and that refers to the socioeconomic and geographic gaps that exist regarding digital use and access. With that in mind, there's a similar thing within the fashion industry, and our organization will combat that. Moving forward, we have stakeholders. We have both internal and external stakeholders, with the first being students. Students are an external stakeholder. It's super important that we communicate with them. As far as income goes, these students are from a variety of socioeconomic backgrounds, but the majority will be from families that have an income less than $50,000 a year. These student stakeholders are interested in fashion and editorials, but they don't have the monetary means to pay for classes, so that's where we step in. Then we have our volunteers. So our volunteers will work for free, and they are just dedicated to helping students realize their passions within the fashion industry. Volunteers are more internal than external in that they are working directly with the organization. However, they do have a lot more leverage in deciding what they volunteer for and what workshops they host and things of that nature. Moving forward, we have donors. Donors are very important in that they fund all of the sewing machines, computers, cameras, fabric, you name it, all of the supplies that are needed. Donors help. Moving forward, we have parents. They're an external stakeholder. It's important we communicate with the parents so that they bring their children to our events. And then finally, we have Alachua County, also external, but we use them as kind of a liaison for communicating with parents and students alike so Fashion House can foster enrollment and retention with the programs. Moving forward, we have message development. So we have a few different messaging styles, with the first being a newsletter. So this newsletter is meant to communicate with parents, students, and volunteers about workshops and upcoming events. With that in mind, we see Kent and Taylor 1998's dialogue approach being represented through this platform. So Kent and Taylor suggested that dialogue is all about having an open relationship and attaining feedback from stakeholders. So we have the concept of mutuality, which is when you're communicating back and forth rather than having a totally authoritarian state. So on this newsletter, we actually see that you can RSVP, but you can also send tips and suggestions. And by welcoming this, you do see that there is a little bit more back and forth that Fashion House is trying to create. Therefore, this theory is in action. Moving forward, we have social media. So all of our social media platforms will embody the idea of spiral of silence, which we'll get into. So first off here, we have our logo on the right-hand side, and we also have an example Facebook post. So our Facebook post is showcasing a student's work. It's a nice little scarf that she had knit in a previous year, advertising the current knitting class. With spiral of silence in mind, spiral of silence essentially refers to the idea that on social media, those with unpopular opinions are less likely to share, therefore creating a seemingly overwhelming majority. With that in mind, students might not be super willing to showcase their own work because it's a little different than what others might have made, but Fashion House will use their social media to promote this individuality and celebrate this unique nature rather than silencing those that have slightly different work. Again, this principle is applied to the Instagram post where you see a student creating a dress, and then the Twitter account also fosters some encouragement regarding those who took photos at a recent event. Moving forward is the program head biography. With myself being the head of this entire system, I would be employing the Leichhardt System of Management System Y. So System Y is way more nurturing in nature. It really does allow some interaction between volunteers, students, parents, everyone, makes everyone feel valued, and creates an environment where ideas are open and there's a collaborative, tight-knit feel. Management is responsible for creating the culture and the environment around an organization. And with this type of style, I hope that everyone will feel valued and encouraged to brainstorm. As far as evaluation goes, we have the 2A systems model. So we encourage feedback at Fashion House. At the end of each seminar, workshop, students will be able to vote how they felt about it. Volunteers can fill out forms regarding how they feel the workshop was perceived, what they would change, what they would do better. And of course, parents are always welcome to contact us with comments and concerns. Crisis management is another really important step in creating a very well rounded organization with clear communicative goals. So we have some crises that arise, with this one being a fabric fashion workshop in which fabrics were used that were made from animals. It was cowhide, real leather. Unfortunately, that means it's not vegan and it's not kosher, which therefore excludes those students. But they still had to work with the materials, and there were no alternatives in this situation. So, what Fashion House decided to do was issue an apology via email addressing volunteers, students, and parents alike, making them aware of what had occurred and also saying that they will in future provide alternative fabric choices to those that recognize a vegan or a kosher lifestyle, again, just to foster some more inclusive nature in each workshop. This theory goes directly into Combs's responses for crisis management, and the one that was employed here was an apology style. It's a primary style, and Fashion House will take the full blame, totally apologize, and then they even compensate slightly by, again, providing alternatives for future use.